From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hello, and welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. I have one of my most favorite guests on again, Trish, who I think of as the mascot of the Unbox Your Sexuality programs. So welcome, Trish. I'm so happy to see you again and that I get to chat with you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we talked about leaning into some of your thoughts around my expectations episode.
Definitely. I have listened to that episode literally 5 times because it's just got so much food for thought in it. I am somebody who is so interested in relationships and wanting to make ones that are as conscious and aware as possible. And so when I heard that episode, it felt like an hour of therapy or just inspiration for how I could move forward in a more conscious way. Specifically, my understanding of like which of my expectations or needs that I have are conscious and which ones are unconscious that I wasn't even aware of. So then I tried to actually, which I don't usually do, I followed through and did the exercise where you write down the journal and what expectations do I have? And then what does that say about me? And what story do I tell myself when those expectations are or aren't met? And as I was writing them down, and I did this in the summertime where I wrote them down and thought a lot about them. I kept thinking, oh, I'd love to like run these by Sam and see what she says about just comments on those expectations and another perspective on how I interpreted what they mean about me or where these expectations and needs might be coming from. So as we share today, I was hoping to talk to you a bit about what expectations and needs you have in your relationships and also like compare them to mine, just because I'm always curious too about like people that I respect and how they make their relationships healthy and conscious, intentional, I guess.
I mean, a couple things already from what you said just came up for me. One is all of this deep thought and work, which is certainly heightening your self-awareness and your connection to yourself, and hopefully your ability to like lean into these moments when things like this might come up for you. And that when we're talking about relationship, I mean, of course, we have that relationship with ourselves, which is what I'm referring to right now. And then once we meet another human and we start a relationship with them, you know, how did those things interact with that person? And so that's, it can be challenging just within ourselves. It really can. So I love that you did all the exercises. And then it becomes additionally challenging and maybe in some places rewarding with another person who has or has not done this same type of unboxing work around their expectations. And I don't remember what I said in the expectations episode exactly. It was just, thoughts flowing out. But when I hear you talk about expectations and that you're somebody who's had expectations and you're trying to figure out if they're conscious or unconscious, and what they mean, the word expectation I have some words that I just bristle at. The word expectation I bristle at. I don't like expectation. I get it. You're hired for a job and like there are a list of expectations of the duties you're going to perform. Okay, I get it for something like that. But in a relationship, I don't love the word. It just is so heavy to me. And that might be because there were so many expectations on me as a young person that I think my entire life I have been rebelling against that. But the other thing I want to say about expectations is I like to take that word and I like to break it down instead of the word expectation, even into wants and needs. So I don't only think of expectation as needs. I think that we have wants,
Mhm.
we have desires, we want things, we might really like things. And then we also have needs, which are more baseline and basic, sort of safety kind of feeling, like things we really need in order to be okay.
Yeah. In your podcast, I feel like that was one of the focusing points that I pulled out. Like, what do I need to feel loved, safe, and connected? And so I think what I will share with you today, I would categorize as needs versus wants. But as we go through them, if you're game to point out like, oh, that's a want, Trish, versus a need. And then also I noticed that when I was thinking about how we could share today, starting with like when we're children, which is what you talked about in the podcast, what are our expectations or needs from our parents? Because I do want to talk today not just about relationship with romantic partners, but like start from the very beginning. What are our expectations as a child and then as a young adult and a parent, and then maybe our partners? I would say that my expectations of my parents as a kid were like none because in a way, because you're like born into this situation as a child, you can't even think, right? You don't necessarily have consciousness and then things just start happening as an infant, right? Or when you're 5 or 6, can you express your needs? Like in my parenting age, I would say that wasn't even something that parents thought about asking their kids to express their needs. My mom's famous line was, she grew up with kids should be seen and not heard. And she thought that like that's sort of what was modeled to her in parenting. But now as I reflect as an adult, I guess I had needs of food, shelter, love, safety, and stability. And I generally got those. However, also know that I'm super lucky and privileged to be born into a family where those needs were generally met. And so many people that don't have uh, security, stability, safety, or love from their parents.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now I also look back at what are my expectations of my parents now, and it's so different because I don't live with them anymore, right? So, well, I guess that was my reflection that our needs and expectations can change with the same specific people over time too, and we need to be aware of that. So now my only expectations are that they will allow me to make my own decisions, that they will support those decisions, that they'll allow me to live an independent life and no longer I don't feel required to please them like I used to as much when I lived at home to in order to achieve that safety, security, stability, and love from them. And one of the things that I need from them, and you can call me out on this if you want, is to be able to choose contact with them versus that feeling like forced or rigid about you will call me, every 2 days or something like that to check in.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a sort of a rigid expectation, which I don't know if that's just something that you bristle at or if that's something that you have felt in the past, like that there was a certain expectation around the rhythm of your calls. And so today say, as an adult, I choose to reach out and connect when it feels aligned with me versus doing it on a schedule that you're telling me I have to do.
Yeah. And I think when I unpack that, what where that comes from is with my mom. I would say the common theme was that the expectations were really clear and the bar was set really high. And I just do not want to be responsible for meeting her expectations anymore. So, not that she's ever said to me, Trish, you need to call me every 2 days, but I have this feeling in my bones that there may be some expectations she has around the amount of contact she wants. And what bristles for me is that need and feeling like I need to be the one responsible for making her happy. Uh, as Yeah,
And Trish, do you have siblings?
yeah, I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Do you think they also live with that feeling of the responsibility of making her happy or feel that?
I feel like my older brother does, and my younger brother totally went like black sheep and just rebelled and has separated, and there's a real distance that he's put between my parents and his relationship, you know?
Okay.
But overall, like, again, as we go forward and look at the themes, like, this feeling of feeling or responding from a place of I am responsible for the other person's feelings. It goes through all of my relationships with my kids, my friends, and my partners or romantic interests. Like I've seen it pop up there.
I'm gonna say there's like another, very popular word that is used to describe this, which is codependency,
Mhm.
right? That in order for you, in this case, to be okay, you need to make sure that the other person is okay. And if the other person is not okay, you're not okay. Right. Which is, starts to lean into that, codependency type of a relationship. And these are things that we learn, very early. So the first thing that comes to mind for me, just with your mom in particular, because you're really calling out your mom in this and not your dad. I don't hear you talking about, yeah, yeah, is it sounds like, I mean, the feeling I get from listening to you is that your mom was not very happy and that it became your responsibility and your older brother's responsibility, as because when you're a kid, you need your parents to be as okay as they possibly can be. And if there's something that you can do about that to
Mhm.
raise their level of happiness, we just do that automatically without thinking about it because
Mhm.
we need their care. And the more attentive they are and the more pleased they are with us, the better it is for us, when we're growing and we're just surviving basically and growing up. So the first thing I feel like is your mom was not a very happy person.
I would say she was a very serious person, and there was not laughter in our family or play, really. It was just a lot of life is serious business, and we work hard, and we show our worth and value by what we do for others.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so that was there too. Yeah, that
yeah.
my guess is that's probably what she learned in her own family of origin. So sometimes we look back at our parents and what they were exposed to and what kind of lives they had when they were children and what they learned to understand a little bit about how they became the adults that they are, that they were when we grew up and today. And as you know, because you've also worked with me, that we do have core emotions. And one of those core emotions is joy, and another one is excitement. And so we're born wired to feel those. So, in hearing that your mom was very serious and everything was about working hard and, essentially like sacrificing and doing good for others, which, look, there's nothing wrong with doing good for others, but like you can do good for others and also have joy and excitement.
Mhm,
um, it sounds to me like there might have been something in her childhood which kept her from being able to express those emotions.
mhm, mhm.
And so somehow you came up with this, you need to keep her happy I need to keep my mom happy. Your brother felt we need to keep
Yeah.
her happy. Because if you didn't, then what might happen?
It would just be uncomfortable, right? There would be like, she was very stubborn and bullish in her behavior, so if she had an expectation and you weren't meeting it, then it just got, like, brought up more, discussed more, it wouldn't go away until
Would
it
it
was
become
met
a
to her
problem?
satisfaction. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of, like, yelling or conflict outwardly, but there was this underlying tone that here's the bar, meet it. And that's just something I feel again in my bones, but I can't tell you a bunch of examples of how that happened at this point in my memory.
Would you say that if there was this bar, the bar was set, you knew what it was, maybe you tried, maybe you didn't try, but then would the outcome be a feeling of disappointment? Like you were disappointing her if you didn't meet the bar, or was just brought up like you were reminded over and over?
Uh, I mean, I think what I remember is meeting her expectations and that feeling good. But then the bar would raise again, and it was just, like, never enough. It's like, "Okay, so you've got all 80s, now what can you get more?" And that's how I interpreted it. I'm not sure that's actually how she expressed it, but that's what my body felt. And then it's interesting with my dad, thank goodness he was a balancing factor in that I felt like he had no expectations of me. Whatever I would do would be fine and he would love, and there's no possible thing that I could do wrong that wouldn't be okay with him. How about with your mom and your dad between the expectations? Like you said, you bristle at the word, but did your mom make you feel that way too, or
No, it was
no?
totally my
Yeah,
dad. It was
yeah.
100% my dad. My dad decided what my career path was going to be from when I was very young. I was going to be a doctor. And I was pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. I even went pre-med in college, um, because I just I didn't think I had any choice, and I had to make him happy. I mean, he would go after me for how I dressed and, everything, whereas my mom was so accepting, and whatever I did, she was there for and loved and gave me lots of space to just be myself. So, mine was my dad and his expectations, and those were heavy really until he passed away. I mean, it was really a lot, and I'm his only child, so it was just, whew, really heavy for me.
Do you think that, because then I was reflecting, my mom's now 85. I have old programming that it's not, necessarily true now that I don't reflect on. So, does my mom really have these super high expectations for me now, or this need to connect all the time via the phone call frequently? Or can I actually check that expectation and have the conversation that says, Mom, do you expect this of me? What are your expectations of me or your needs of me? And like check in with this is what my body is telling me she expects of me or just my programming. But is that really true now in the future? Did you ever check in with your dad or around that to see if like these expectations that you still felt till the day he died, were they just your programming or were
He
they
made it
still there?
clear, like he made he actually made it kind of clear. So with him, I wasn't as close to him growing up, probably because of my early, childhood sexual abuse, which was with a best friend's father. So I had a real father go away kind of thing growing up.
Mm.
So I wasn't very close to my dad emotionally growing up. I was a little bit always pushing him away on top of him having these expectations that felt very heavy. It wasn't until my mom started to get sick with dementia, which was the time I was coming out and going through my divorce, that he started really leaning on me. And he would call me. multiple times a day, every day. Prior to that, I rarely spoke to my
Uh,
dad.
yeah.
My mom was my everyday person for my entire life. I spoke to her on the phone every day. It wasn't an expectation, it was just natural with
Mhm.
her. With him, then he started taking care of her and he needed me and he was leaning on me and he needed help and he needed emotional support until she passed away in 2010. And then at that point, it was just him. And I felt somewhat responsible for him. And we fell into this relationship pattern of pretty much talking every day. So the talks would be short. So I'd be out running around doing my thing. I'd be walking the dogs. I would always call. We'd have a very short conversation. I mean, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and get off the phone. But it was like a daily check in. I didn't feel expectation so much around that. I mean, there were times I was very, very busy or very distracted. That time would go by, like maybe a few days would go by, 4 or 5 and I didn't speak to him. And then he would get upset and he would call me and be like, you haven't called me, And I'm like, well, you can call me too, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm busy. Like, I've got 3 kids. I'm divorced. I'm building a career. Like, you're retired. You could call me too. So we would have those kinds of conversations every now and
Mm.
again, but there wasn't, I think the expectation with my dad was more around actual physical time spent together. And there was this expectation that he had for a long time, from the time I got married, the time my first kids were born, my twins, that I would come and spend time at their house that they bought in Connecticut, which was on a lake. And so it became very tense. The whole house became tense for me. The expectation I was going to come and spend time there became tense for me. It didn't really work with when I was married. We had a beach house, like it didn't work. And there was tension around it. And there was disappointment on their part around it. So it would, they expressed it. And I said, look, like we have a beach house. This is where we go when we have time to go somewhere, we go there, we're not coming to you. And so it was clearly a disappointment. And then after my mom passed away, it was kind of like, when are you coming to see me? When are you coming to see me? When are you coming to see me? And that was hard because I really couldn't spend much more than like 2 hours with my dad until I would start to lose my mind.
Mm.
So it was like the weekends were my refuge where I had a few minutes to recover from what my life was like, which was very much survival mode. And then I had his expectation, which weighed on me all the time. But he made it very clear. I expect you to see me sometimes. But I really only went like maybe once every 2 months for like 2 hours in person. And the way I balanced that out was by talking to him every day, a lot of times more than once a day, which I had no problem with. So I never checked in and said, hey, what do you expect of me? I know he expected a lot of me in terms of taking care of him, not making him happy. He was a happy person. I mean, my dad he had friends, he had people visiting him. He loved to talk to people. He was funny. He had a great personality, super curious guy. Like, he just expected as the woman, as the daughter, that I was going to take care of him however he needed me to.
Hmm. Yeah, I I can relate to those feelings and totally understand them. What about now with your kids? What expectations do you have of your kids?
Very little, if any, expectations of my kids. Like, um, I can't say I really don't have expectations. I have 3 kids. 2 of the 3 call me more than once a day on their own accord. I mean, my son in New York, he calls me on his way to work. He calls me in the evening when he's walking his dog. Maybe he'll tell me something that happened that day. He'll just ask me how I am. Again, it's one of these short 3-minute conversations. Love you, love you. That's it. And my daughter is, I mean, she's, we're attached all the time, but with no expectation. Like when she doesn't call me for a few days, I might be like, oh, I hope she's okay. But I'm not like, oh, I expected her to call. And then my other son who lives in LA, I mean, he's like once every 2 weeks, maybe. But it's not an expectation. He might feel an expectation in himself and feel like, oh God, 2 weeks has gone by. I should call my mom, but I don't feel that. And if too long has gone by, I'm just going to call him.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and this brings me to when I thought about my kids and what expectations that I have of them, I also feel the same that I don't really have expectations of them. And so that brings me to expectations versus needs. Like,
Hmm.
what is, um, like, does an expectation uh, inspire a need or does a need inspire an expectation? Like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg and that sort of thing. Just in the background there, like, when I really dug into it, my need is for them to have transparent communication of their needs and wants with me, and that they'll take ownership of their own happiness. Actually, that's my expectation. That's my expectation, but I feel like I don't really put it out there as an expectation because I see them doing it already, which is also maybe another part of the equation. When
Hmm.
somebody is meeting your needs, just you don't even think about, do you have an expectation of them if they're meeting your needs? Mm,
Yeah. Say the two things again about your needs slash expectations about your kids. Say it one more time.
I think if I wanted to say I have an expectation or a need of them, it would be that they have transparent communication with me of their needs and wants, like they're forthcoming. They don't withhold that they have a special need and they don't tell me that. So it's transparency and that they'll take ownership of their own happiness. And I guess that what does that say about me? I think that says about me that as a mom, I really felt responsible for curating and providing a home where there was happiness, and I no longer want to be the person that is in charge of that. So this is me offloading my feeling of responsibility for them onto them. And that's where that need or expectation comes from.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think there's a part of me that feels like, well, that's a natural progression of having children under your roof that you're raising, and then they launch. And there's something in that progression to launching. There is like a natural, for me, it feels more like, now I hear you're calling it a need and an expectation, which is it? But I feel like for me, I feel like it's more of like a want, like it's a wish almost. And
Hmm.
like I wish for them to take charge of their own lives and happiness. I want that. I want it for me, but I also really want it for them.
Hmm.
Do I need it? Um, kinda. Like I kinda need it because I'm tired.
Y- Yes.
Tired, like, and they've put me through a lot. And one is still not totally launched. My daughter's not totally launched, and I'm tired, and I need her to start to take herself into adulthood more so that I don't have to do as much. And also, you know, I'm a parent, so of course I'm going to continue to do what I need to do because I'm the kind of parent that I am, or I feel I need to do. I mean, a lot of the times it's funny because I'll say, I have no choice. Like I literally say, I have no choice. This is my kid. I have no choice. And I have friends that say, you have a choice. And I'm like, no, I actually don't feel like I really have a choice because I love so big. I am going to love this kid into the launch.
Hmm.
Um, but I want that for her. I want that for me. And yes, there's a need. I also need my nervous system to get back to being regulated and knowing she's okay. So it's both, I think, but it doesn't land in an expectation, which to me feels there's like a coldness to it.
Mm,
There's like a disconnect when it becomes, I have an expectation of you to be an adult and to manage your own life. I don't know, there's like something cold in it for me.
I think that makes sense. I can feel that too. It's the feeling of an expectation versus I feel like a communicated need is softer and warmer, and it's like a welcoming in of again, it's transparent communication versus an expectation is more cold and heavy. And like you said in the podcast, it's a distancer,
It's a
you
distancer.
know? It's a
Yeah.
distancer and a disconnecting kind of test situation
Yes.
versus a communicated, transparent need is an connector and an intimacy maker, right? Yeah.
It's vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
It's like, "Hey, my nervous system has been, like, stretched so far for so many years, and I love you so much, and all I want is to see you doing well and thriving in whatever ways you can or you want to, and, like, let's work together on that." Versus, "Hey, I have an expectation of you. You have 6 months to get on
Right.
your feet.
Yeah.
In 6 months, I am cutting you off and you are on your own. That is
Right.
my expectation. Do you hear me?"
Yeah. 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 And it's funny when you said too, I have noticed like what I am willing to accept one person. It's not like I have across the board, here's my needs for everybody, and I have the same level of expectation with them. Because when it comes to my grandkids now, I feel like I don't have a choice, slash, I am choosing every time I go see them to show up for them, in a whole new way, because this is a human being that is so imprintable right now and so helpless. And so I have, I have so much love that I want to pour into them and show up for them for in a whole new level than I would for my kids at this point. Like I would also show up for my kids, but I probably would have a few more boundaries around that. Then I feel like the boundaries are, other than I recognize now I have about 7 days of 7 to 14 depending, of love to give before I need to go replenish myself to be able to continue that. Um, and 3 days of being together with them feels super easy, and 14 days feels like I really need a break, in like, when we've, say, spent vacations together, it might be 14 days. But, yeah, so
That makes sense.
and this is also why, as a woman, I don't know if guys feel this way or not, but definitely the parenting instinct comes out in me of I need to see how this person is doing. I need to respond if they're not feeling well. I need to help them regulate at this point when they can't regulate for themselves. And then suddenly that just creeps sometimes, if you're not reflective on it, into adulthood where you still have needs of them, but actually they are old enough and need to learn how to do that on their own. And you need to step back and say, is that really a need they have, or is that my need to control the situation so I feel safe and comfortable coming out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard having adult children. I think it's also just more complicated with your grandchildren. It's like you can spend that amount of time or whatever the amount of time is and know that they aren't going to be, like, calling you to ask you for more, you
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
It's like, "That's it. I have this to give. I'm giving it to you, and see you soon." But
Yeah,
with your kids, they can call you and they can say, "Hey, this is going on, and I need help with this," and yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then how about with your friends? Do you feel like you have general needs or expectations of your friends?
Not really. I mean, I think I'm so not an expectations person. I mean, obviously, yeah, I just the word expectation is just so
Okay.
not that comes in for me.
So let's say then a need. What are your needs with your friends in order for somebody to be in friendship with you? What?
Yeah, I think I need people that want to connect, and that can look a lot of different ways, but people who are willing, like my friends are willing to be vulnerable. They're willing to let me into like their inner world and what's happening for them, what they're feeling. These are people that I really now I'm talking about close friends.
Yep, that's what I
Right?
mean.
Yeah, and I have a need to stay connected, and that can look it doesn't have to be again, it really doesn't have to be in person. So I have some friends I mean, I have a friend I made when I started my coaching program. Her name is Heidi. She's been on the podcast. I mean, I love this woman so much. She lives in Portland. We have never met in person. She knows everything going on for me every day, and I know, like, everything going on for her because we use Marco Polo, which is the app that I have all my close people on, and there's
Yeah.
only, like, 5 or 6 of them, but it's, they are in my ups and downs of my ins and outs of my day, and I am in theirs whether we see each other in person or not. I like that real intimacy in
Hmm.
my friendships.
I'm so excited you're sharing yours with me because, again, it's these unconscious for me, when I thought about it, the only conscious one I could come up with, top of mind, was um, that they'll be okay or understanding with me if I take space when I need it or not always being as consistent as I might be in communicating with my children and my parents say. Like sometimes my life gets busy and I don't want to have to apologize if we haven't spoken for a number of days. But when you said the part about intimacy and vulnerability in your relationships, for sure that is a need of mine, or that's what draws me to a friend, somebody who can have the deeper conversations and is willing to be vulnerable without guardedness. That's so satisfying to me when that happens. So for sure, that is one of my, I guess, again, I don't love the word expectations, but it's a need. And if people aren't willing to do that, then we won't have a close friendship for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about if you get busy and you're not around for a little bit of time, that's understood. I mean, I have friends that I've known since I'm 19 that live on the West Coast. There have been times in life where years have gone by where we haven't had contact. And now that our kids are more grown and whatnot, we're back to being in touch, but there's no like holding a grudge on any of that. This is just life. So if somebody has a really busy week and they say to me, I'm heading into a really busy time, or they come out of it and say, hey, I'm back, I've been just swamped for the last few weeks. Yeah, there's no grudge or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Then let's move into what were the expectations in your hetero partnership, your marriage, when you were in your 20s when you got married?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What were
I
your needs or expectations then of your partner or when you were choosing them or
I mean, I really don't even, I don't know that I really had anything other than just, I don't even know if they were needs, honestly. Maybe they were more wants at that time.
yeah, okay.
Or maybe they dovetail a little with needs, but certainly like a need or a want to feel safe in the relationship in ways where like I could trust the person. I'm a serial monogamist, so before my husband I also had long-term serious relationships with men. I've always been a serial monogamist. So, trust, being able to trust somebody is not like stepping out was not easy for me. So trusting that somebody was going to be loyal and put their energy into our relationship. And I felt very good about that with the man I chose to marry because he was 16 years older than me. So because of, misogyny and all of the things that we learn about, how we look as a woman, right? In my young mind, I thought, well, he's 16 years older than me. I'm 24 and he's 40. So I'm always going to look good for him.
Mhm.
So that was something that drew me into that relationship was I don't have to worry that he's going to step out on me.
Interesting. Hmm.
A very young mind of a, very
Mm.
traumatized 20-something-year-old.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that was one. And then, you know, I mean, he was everything all the other men I had been with were not. So he was a very hardworking entrepreneur, had really built up more than one business and was successful and very grounded, like very like he had a dog and he owned his apartment and
Mm.
all the other guys that I had dated before that were very free spirited. Like they were floating around the world, He was very, very grounded. Like he wasn't going anywhere. So there was a lot of safety and security with the relationship with him that I kind of chose after a lot of long distance relationships with men that were in Italy or, wherever, all over the place. But never nearby. I never had like a long-term relationship with a guy that was nearby. They were always far away. So I was like, okay, I lived in Europe for a few years after college. I came back from Europe. I was like, okay, my adventures are over. Like I've done it. I've been like a free spirit long enough. Now I just have to do the thing. It's time for me to get in the box. And so I chose like almost like the boxiest person I could find.
Mhm.
Very traditional setup in the marriage. I was home with the kids. We had kids right away. He was out working. He was traveling 3 to 4 months out of the year. So he was away a lot of the time. We had 2 dogs, 2 homes, 3 kids. So it was a lot of work. And yeah, I mean, some of the things I needed and wanted, he just couldn't give. Like when he traveled, I wanted to stay connected. I wanted him to call me and like be curious about me and curious about my day. He would be away for 3 weeks. We would not speak on the phone even once.
Uh,
He'd just be gone. Like there was that intimacy piece
mhm.
was really hard for him. Like he did not know how to do intimacy.
Mhm.
So I was lonely. I was really lonely, and I had girlfriends and whatnot, but I was quite lonely in the marriage. So the intimacy that's so important to me, I just did not have with him. I did actually have it with the other men. I did have a lot more intimacy and friendship than I had with the man that I ended up marrying. So
Mm.
go figure. I really,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, though, it's like, what are you looking for? What were you looking for when you were dating the Italian guys versus what were you looking for when you chose your husband? Yeah, like, I'm sure those are two very different things. Yeah.
So different. So
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I like, and so here's where wants enter into it. I feel like at 22, when I was first in relationship with my husband, and then 24 when I was married, um, I didn't even recognize that it would be an important thing to pick somebody that made me feel loved, safe, and connected, like as a criteria. I guess I knew sort of I s safe was a feeling I had with him, but it wasn't something that I recognized as something I was specifically choosing. What I was specifically choosing, I thought would be that he would be a good father, a good provider, that we would have similar values and family backgrounds, and that he would be reliable, trustworthy, kind, and generous, which by my measure, he was all those things at that time. But that bar was really pretty low, or I was feeling not as needy. I didn't have as many needs as I would have as I grew and evolved and had kids and became a mom, you know? So I would say I went into it just having wants without registering that actually as a 21-year-old or somebody in my 20s, I had I could or will have needs. I don't know, maybe it's an age thing when you get needs versus wants. Do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an age awareness thing,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
It's like you haven't had enough relationship experience. Your brain's not fully developed yet. I mean, your brain doesn't stop developing till you're 26. So 21, you're essentially still an adolescent. And you're just gathering information about yourself. Like you're
Mm,
getting data. And so wants, but you know, I think needs can come out of learning what it feels like when your needs aren't being met.
yeah.
So in other words, like I felt very lonely in my marriage. Like I really needed more intimacy in a friendship way. And so that taught me that I needed this intimacy that I wasn't getting, but I wouldn't have said that going into the marriage. I had no idea I needed that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it was always there in the other ones, right? Just naturally. So you don't necessarily recognize you need it until it's not there and you have that experience, which is why experience and information gathering and allowing yourself to have more relationships if one relationship isn't meeting your needs is important. Yeah. Rather than feeling like, again, well, my personal conviction that is, it is not a failure to end a relationship or a marriage if you've learned something from it and and tried and expressed your needs. If those needs can't be met in that relationship, then please, move on and let each other be free and get a chance to have those needs met. But yeah, this idea that we should make the right choice with the right person, or this is an idea I have. I feel like society tells us, well, if you're smart, you'll know what you need and you'll pick the right person all the time. But no, it's that, yeah, we learn by doing, and you can never predict what each individual person is going to bring to share with you or have to offer until you're in that relationship and not just for the first few months, like you said, at least 2 years or more.
Yeah, and I
Mm,
can say that the other piece of that, of what you're saying around, like, getting into those relationships that might or might not work, right? As we know, like, 50% of marriages end in divorce. So, you know, um, it might or it might not, but I think aside from just figuring out what you want and need and expressing that and, that happening and being fulfilling or not, it's like the entree into this is this intense, which I, as both a therapist and a coach, watch people feel this intense desire to get married. So it's not like an intense desire to have a very mature, very transparent, direct communication, deeply intimate, hearing the other person's needs, figuring out how to work things out and talk about them need. It's a need to get married
mm,
because once they're married, they've checked the box. Their parents are happy. Even if it's a woman marrying a woman, there's still this same box checking feeling that I see in people, that they're just desperate, younger people, really desperate to get married and be celebrated
mm,
for making that choice.
mhm.
So add that in to what you're saying about, what your wants are when you're in your 20s and what you're looking for. And then there's this pressure to do this thing so that you're approved of by society. So you're not single, God forbid, and you end up in your 30s or your 40s and you didn't end up getting married. A lot of pressure.
Mhm. Hmm. So now moving into those romantic relationships, what would you say your wants or needs are? Oh, and, like, have you done this exercise yourself when it
I mean, a little bit. Since my last relationship, it's almost 2 years now. And I know when I meet whoever the person is that the universe might bring into my world, I would like them to be um, someone who's passionate about whatever it is that they do, and that they like want to spend time doing that or whatever other things they really love to do. So much so that they are happy doing it on their own and they don't need me to do it with them. Though if I'd like to, they would welcome me to do it with them, but it's not like I'm holding them back because I might not want to. I want them to have things that they like to do, that take up time in their life and take up space and give them joy. I would like someone who is a clear, direct communicator, who is transparent about everything, really. Even if they can't talk about it in the moment, if I've done something that didn't feel good, to be able to say like, "Oh, something about that didn't feel good. I just need to sit with it." That has the muscle of reassurance. Like, I'm not mad at you. Something didn't feel good, and I just need to like come back around so we could talk about it. So somebody who's like in touch with their internal system, and someone I figured this out on a podcast a few weeks ago. I think I shared it on the episode with Sophia where she was saying, if she's going to be in a relationship with someone, it has to be someone who's doing the work. And I said to her, if I'm in a relationship, it has to be with someone who's done the work.
get?
Yeah. So that was new to me. Like that came out of that conversation.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, wow, that's really
Yeah,
important."
yeah.
So that's not to say that that doesn't mean you're still doing it,
Mhm.
because we're always doing it and we're always growing. And when you have relationships with new people, it will bring out all new sides of you and new parts of you that you didn't know existed. And so there will always be more work to do, but I want to be with someone who has language around their triggers and their trauma and can say, "Oh, this just pushed this particular button and this part of me got activated," that has language and that they
Mm.
can speak for the parts of them that are reactive or triggered, as opposed to speaking from the parts.
Wow, that's a good one.
It's really important to me. I don't want to be caught in a dynamic and caught in some difficult struggles with somebody else's parts. And they don't know what's going on. We're all growing and evolving, and new things will come out all the time. But I don't want to be shepherding somebody through their internal system and what's happening. I really want someone who's done the work and has language for it. That's so important to me.
Ooh, that is like a five-star one. So good.
Yeah. So, and then I'm someone who takes their health seriously, who is on top of taking care of themselves, and someone who is very
Mm,
kind to animals and children, someone who is very intimate, someone who is sensual and thinks that it's important to, spend time, put time away for that, and someone who isn't looking to do any kind of relationship escalator. Like, now we've been together this long, so that means X, and now we've been together this long, and so that means Y. Like, none of that. Um, so yeah, those are some of the
Okay.
ones that I've come up with. Yeah,
That's a fantastic list. And it's inspiring and food for thought. And so I also want to do the exercise though that you put in the expectations podcast. So
yeah,
let's take a few of those and I
yeah.
want to ask you
What it
if
means
you
about
turn
me,
that around, what it means about you.
which
So
one is
let's
yeah.
okay, let's say you want somebody who has passions or interests that they want to spend doing on their own. Eh, That's kind of two together, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I have a lot of things I like to do. Sometimes I can invite somebody in to do them with me, but I also like to do them on my own. So if I have someone who matches that, then I can be free at times, and that might be I'm working on building a new course or I'm working on creating content or I want to go cycling, or I want to go to a Pilates class or a yoga class or whatever it is. But I have things I want to go do, and that somebody else has things that they also like to go do. I am a person who needs space. I cannot do 24/7 together with somebody. I would,
Yeah.
I would compete.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. That's what it means about you. And you are consciously aware that you need that. So then you're able to communicate it and share it. What about um, them being in touch with their internal system and having language around their triggers and that? What does that mean about you? Or what? Yeah, the
Yeah.
other way I think you put it in the podcast was what story do you tell yourself if that need isn't met?
Yeah. It's basically like, because I'm a healer, I can end up doing some heavy lifting for somebody that I love to try to help them navigate what's happening for them. And
Mm,
I don't have the bandwidth for that anymore. That's what that means. So I know myself. I know I'll do it. I don't want to.
wow. Yeah. Great answer. Um, okay. How about the relationship escalator one?
Yeah. I've spent my life exiting the boxes. So let's create something unique together that works for us and not have the outside world, telling us how, like, I am so opposed to that. I had one partner who just was like, she just wanted to get married and she just wanted to get married. And it's like, I can't. Let's make something beautiful together that's about us instead of doing what society says is the right thing to do and the way it's supposed to look and the way it's supposed to go. I have no interest in that.
Mm-hmm. I'll share a few of mine that were kind of similar with you. I said I need someone who is open to defining our own non-traditional monogamous relationship, such as living apart together without being focused on a specific destination like marriage as the ultimate goal. And I feel like this says about me that my previous trad wife relationship left me with a lot of wounds. And it also says that I am at a stage and age where I'm not looking for building a family or building a life with someone because I already have both of those things. So what I need is somebody who's looking to like expand their idea of relationship and we're not going to just jump into something and have specific roles and timelines because that's what society says. Yeah. Okay.
Love that. I love hearing you say that.
Um, I need someone who understands and communicates what it is they need to feel loved, safe, and connected to me. And I guess that's another one of those have done or doing the work. And in fairness, until my last relationship, I don't think I could have articulated that or even knew, like, I was so into just being with a woman in relationship after 30 years of being in a, you know, unsatisfying in many ways relationship with a man, I just so desperately craved that intimacy and emotional connection that I never spent the time in between marriage and that relationship to think about what I needed. And so when that ended, wow, there's just been 2 years of reflection time now to really think about those things and spending time with myself, so that was good. Um, I know that I have a need to be sovereign within my relationship in the sense that I need to be my authentic self. I learned from my last relationship with my husband that that didn't work well for me in a 30-year relationship when I couldn't be my whole self. I need to not be responsible for the other person being okay. I think that is a sign of my allergicness to feeling like I needed to make my mom okay or my kids okay. And I don't necessarily, this is what it actually says about me. I don't trust myself necessarily yet to not go into the heavy lifting mode or the caretaking mode. And so I really need to look for a partner that, like you said, has done the work or is doing the work to look after themselves. Like they agree to take care of themselves for me, and I agree to take care of myself for them, kind of thing. So that's a new awareness for me there. I need my partner to be independent of me with respect to finances, family, and where they live. And I think that this says about me that being able to choose what I will be a part of is very important to me versus feeling forced or responsible for or expected to be a part of all those things. Like I'm going to expect that we're going to live together. Um, I wanna choose when and how we live together and not like again, this says about me that the lot of my 30-year relationship felt like a jail cell, that I couldn't get away from, and I that is, like, an area of me that I need to heal, and through experience, to know that I am gonna be safe and be able to trust myself to leave if I needed to leave in the future, which I couldn't trust myself to do in the past for 30 years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such an important one.
I think I need somebody who's open to doing therapy or has done therapy before there's problems to understand what makes each other feel safe, loved, and supported, and to get to know our shadow sides and our attachment and the parts of them. And this says, I think that I value harmony in a relationship and I like to learn and grow. Um, and I do want to have a deep, intimate connection. Like, I want to understand what your needs are so I can choose to meet them if I have the capacity. And also to be able to say I don't have the capacity in some situations. I guess that's similar to where you said you want to be with somebody who has language around their triggers and knows how to express that. And the best one that they know how to speak for their part instead of from their part. I'm taking that one and stealing it. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. It's in a very common IFS, to
Yeah.
be able to speak for your parts. I have a part of me that's feeling XYZ, right? Is a part of me instead of just, "Ah,"
Yeah.
like coming at you like a dragon,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that is a life's work too, right? In
it
a
is.
way, because every different situation brings up different parts.
I'm so proud of you, and, I mean, I'm also very aligned with really everything you said. You had yours prepared. Mine were
Yeah.
just coming off the top of my head, but the living situation piece, I really I'm all for that, the living apart together, and then I really love the piece about, like, choosing not whether or not, but, like, how much or yeah, even whether or not you wanna integrate or spend time with what the other person's life and family looks like. Like, that's a choice. It's not just a given. It's not like, well, this is your family, so I'm just going to now start doing all the holidays with you.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
But there's a choice there, and that's okay, and that's understood, and that there's no hard feelings about that in the other direction too. Like, there isn't an expectation that they have to come and spend time with me and my family.
Mhm.
So I love that one as well that you added. So some of the ones that you said, I was like, yes, me too. But I love that you did the whole exercise, and I think it shows just how much work you've done and how much you've grown, certainly since I met you, which was quite some time ago now, 2021, I believe. It's amazing. I'm so
Mhm.
just so happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to um have you out there being our fairy game mother, keeping on inspiring us and giving all these things, great things to think about each week. So we can continue to grow.
Well, thanks for coming on, Trish. It's always such a pleasure to see you and to hear where you are and what you're doing. I'm sure there will there will be another episode in the future, people, where Trish will be back for some other topic. So take good care. Thanks for being here.
Bye for now.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self shine in all its beautiful glory?